I found that girl that I knew, and one day, I just had an idea of, hey, listen, there's this space here, there's nobody. Everybody in this space is either over 50 years old, and in that our generation, there's nobody. So I think you should go here. And I know you want to do R&B, but you should go here. And I have an idea of an album, of what we could do, a few songs. I have some beats. I wrote some songs, and we could finish everything together. We go to the studio. We make a classic album. And the person I collaborated to do this album went in her head, and of course she felt. She did the victim thing. She did the perfect victim thing, where all of a sudden she was my victim, and I didn't understand where it came from. But all that was just because I didn't realize that the guy I was working with wanted to get the artist for himself and the money for himself. So I will do the long version of that story, but I want to do a super quick version of that story. At the end of the story, I realize that I've been blindsided on both sides, and that I'm about to lose 100,000 euros. I know it. So I lose the artist, and the person who messed with her head also takes all the money that we made. And now the artist is walking around, doing shows all around the world, singing a song that I wrote for my album, a beat that I did for my album that was supposed to be the album that I would do after her album. But I said, hey, let me put all the good chips in this album. I gave her that song. And she's walking around singing my songs that I wrote on the beats that I produced, and doing interviews saying that I was just an assistant, and that I'm not her producer. All this album is not my idea. It's this guy's idea, my new guru. And I'm devastated. I remember one day after all this, losing all the money, the threats, the violence, and sometimes being in the same place as the artist, and seeing the artist looking at me like I'm like, and not talking to me but we were friends before that. And all of a sudden, like, the person acts like if she was my victim. And the best thing about it was that she never said what I did to her, because I did nothing. She just had to cry, and everybody believed. And of course my reaction was, okay. No, I remember that the person, I'm trying to condense the story. I want to be able to tell the story, really the long version. But my co-producer, we did the album together, I remember that night it was me, him, and Elisio. We in the car, Elisio's in the back, I'm on the back seat, and he stops in the middle of the road and he doesn't say nothing. And I start having tears in my eyes. I have a tear that falls on my cheek because I'm shocked that. And that person, who actually I don't know yet that he's the one who organized all this, who turned this artist against me. He looks at me and he's like, what a bitch. And me, yeah, this album will not come out I'm taking back all my music. If you want to work with her, go ahead. But me, I'm taking back all my music. I'm taking all my songs, and I don't want to work with her. I don't want to talk with her anymore. And that's how he fucked me. He's like, nah, we're gonna do better. I'm gonna finish the album with her. You take care of doing your shows and feeding your family. I'm gonna finish the album. We're gonna eat the money, all the money that we do from this album. And after that, we kick her out like the bitch she is. And me, I'm like, yeah. Manipulation at its best. And at that moment, are you still here? Because I see the chat is not saying anything. I don't know if everybody fell asleep. At that moment, so 6 months passed before the album comes out, and I go on tour with my other artists, and I start realizing, actually, I'm telling you, at that moment, I go to different places where I have beef with different people. I remember I had beef with Lin Mauro, my brother. I had beef with my friend that was that signed my deal at Sony Music. I had a beef with another friend. I will tell you the real story. I really want to not spoil it but because it's not important. This is just for you to have the context of the failure and then the victory. So at that moment, I meet a girl in Ivory Coast that I knew that I was not talking to. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, what you mean? Yeah, you said this, you said that. I said, no, I didn't. Your person that says he's your bro said that and said that and said that. And all of a sudden, I realize, when sometimes when you deal with devilish people, evil people, they know how to corner you to this point. And this is why it's very interesting when I was talking about Harry and Meghan. And even if it might not be this, it looks to me like deja vu. Because sometimes some people know how to corner you and make them believe that they are your only ally, when in actuality, the moment when you stop just looking like this and you start opening your eyes and you open the lights, then you look up there and you realize that the only person that is in all these stories you have with all these people that you have a problem with is the same person. And then I'm like, wait a minute. So I go back to one of my other artists that was there that day. And I ask her, what happened that day? And she started crying. Oh, we arrived. Soon as we arrived, from 2 p.m. till midnight, he start criticizing, telling us, oh, you don't have this, he doesn't do this, da-da-da. How come he doesn't do this, da-da-da-da? And yeah, soon as you arrive, we just jump at your throat. I'm so sorry, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, it's okay. We all have been manipulated. I know it. I go talk to the person who was distributing my music at that time, my partner. And I'm like, hey, what do you think about this guy? And he's like, oh, the puppet master? I'm like, oh, so you know. And he's like, oh, yes, I know. And I'm like, okay. So at that moment, I'm bracing myself because I know I'm about to lose all the money from my album, It's So Love, and all the money from the artist album. I know I'm going to lose all the money. I know. Luckily for me, I made all my money back on shows and on the digital after. But all the CD sales, so we're talking about a few €100,000. I know I'm about to lose all that money. I know already. But that's not the story. Long story short, I will do a whole show about it. I want to do a whole show about the fuckeries that I've been through in music, and this story needs at least 3 hours, so I cannot do it now. But so in the short version of the story, when I arrive to the meeting, I know that I'm not gonna get no money from the money that is being made. So we're talking about 400,000 euros that have been made. We're supposed to divide in three, and he invents something that has nothing to do with the deal that we had, and I end up being squeezed. And then I'm like, I know it, so I was ready for it, and I just start working on other things, and I work on my album, African Bohemian, straight away. And once he knows that I'm working on this album, now it's frets, it's like ghetto, it's the ghetto thing, that because the guy was not like me from rich family, he was ghetto, and he thought that you could resolve everything with frets. But at the same time, he knew I had streets behind me, so he just tried to scare me. It didn't work. I just told him, hey, I'm never gonna work with you again. That's all I have to tell you. And just forget my number, enjoy the money, and peace. That was the failure. I will tell you the whole story well. It's just for you to understand the context. Then, of course, me? Never. So, 2 years pass. It's time for the artist to do a new album. The problem is that the artist has an album that was entirely at 90% done by me. And now everybody is asking themselves the question they didn't ask themselves in the beginning. Because now the artist is super famous, rolling around the world, doing a lot of shows. People are hoping that we're going to do a show together. I say never. We're never going to be on the same stage together. That's, if something that I have is integrity, and my integrity once, yeah. So we actually never did shows together after that. And it's been 10 years, 15 years. And we're good now. We talk, we fine, but we had our conversation years. But this is going to be for the real story. But now everybody's like, hey, it's time to do a second album. Everybody's asking for the next album. It's been 2 years. Let's go. And those people start working on music. And they go talk to the distribution, and distribution tell them, the music is whack, bro. And they're like, yeah? Oh, yeah, listen. This is not the sound that, like, she came with heavy sound. She came with like the Kaysha music. Kaysha is a mix of Caribbean and African music, but mixed with hip hop. And she cannot come from that and then do an album that sounds. We need Kaysha. The guys know that they stole my money. And the girl knows that she betrayed my friendship. So, how you gonna work with me? So the first person who comes to me is my distributor. My distributor, who knows, because he's the one who paid him, and I was supposed to get my money from that. He knows, but he calls me because, money is more important than it's funny because we were having a conversation about this thing with me and that distributor last week, and I was like, "Shh, for you, money is more important than friendship." He was like, "No, don't say that." I was like, "Ah, bro, come on." You know, it's behind us, but yeah. And he calls me. He's like, "Yo, bro, you have to work with her. Blah blah blah. She's your friend. Hey, can we have at least one zouk and one afro? Like, we need your, yo, you have to. Hey, come on, it's your artist." I'm like, "No, she's not my artist." "Oh, come on." I was like, "Hey, listen. I'm talking to you, cool, but don't piss me off." Then the manager, who was there that night and who I introduced to the artist, I told him and her, "You guys are gonna work together." He's been making a ton of money from selling her shows. Me, zero. Me, all I had was going to Brussels, going to the lap of the mother of my son, and crying all night. Why people like this? Why? Okay. He calls me. "Yo, Kay." "Yo, what up, bro?" "Hey, man, we doing a new album. Are you kidding me?" "Yeah, but it's the bit." I hang up. Who calls me? The guy who stole me my money. And the artist, and respect, calls me without no problem. He calls me and he tells me, "Hey, what up, man?" I'm like, "You, what up?" "Yeah, man, hey, I don't know, long time." I said, "Yep. What can I do for you?" "Yo, I heard in the grapevine that you don't want to work with your artist." I said, "My artist? It's your artist." "Yeah, but no, we did it together." I said, "That's not what you said, and that's not what the contract said. Apparently, it's your artist. So listen, let's cut the bullshit. What do you want?" "Yo, well, I want to know why you don't want to work with her." And I was like, "Well, listen, I'm going to tell it to you in simple words. You owe me around 100,000, if not more. I don't forget the numbers. It's an old story. Like, you owe me around 100,000 euros. Here's what you're going to do. Write me a check or send me an electronic transfer of 100K, then call me back so that I can tell you to fuck off. That's what you need to do." "Oh, it's like that?" "Yes, it's like that." "I will see then. Bye." Second album of the girl comes out without me, and it's a failure. Album tanks. Everybody's saying, "Yo, the artist came with a great start. It was a great album. It was amazing, the first one, but on the second one, we don't know what happened." And in every interview, everybody's now asking the artist, yo, where's the guy that makes all the hits? Because we're talking about an era, 2004, 2005, 2006, where every hit came from me. In the African market and the Caribbean market, everybody needed to have a Kaysha beat in their album. It was like having a Timbaland or a Dr. Dre. Like, it was guaranteed that it would be the hit, especially in Africa and the Portuguese-speaking markets, the US. You wanted to branch out internationally, you needed to have a beat by Kaysha at that time. And everybody was like, yeah, but in every interview that I was reading, yeah, but why you stop working with Kaysha? He's one of your mentors. He's this, that, and you know, it was always the downplay. No, you know, in the first album, he was just an assistant. yeah, but he was just an assistant, but we could hear his sound. And on this second album, what is missing is his sound. And yeah, album didn't work. So on the third album, I received a call from a friend he's not in France, he's in another country. And he's like, so wait a minute. Bro, I have a big thing for you. I have a deal for you. I have 100,000 euros for you. I'm like, yeah, what for? He's like, yo, listen, I got this big football player. He's ready to give you, on top of, he's gonna pay you for your studio, he's gonna pay you for your beats, he's gonna pay you for everything, whatever you need to create the product. But on top of that, he's willing to give you 100K. And the football player is like, and I'm like, okay, interesting. So I get 100K bonus plus whatever amount I need to create the album and pay for my beats and pay for my studio and etc. So you're telling me that you're about to give me like 150K. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, who's the artist? And the guy tells me, yo, the name of the artist. And I'm like, nope. And he's like, hey. I was like, I know. Listen. And I tell him, I cannot work with somebody that every time I meet that person is looking from me from her high horse. And the person is looking at me like if I'm the culprit of something when she knows very well that she fucked me. So, no, my respect and what my parents taught me is not worth 100K. My respect has no price. No, that person never came to me to say, I'm sorry. Never came to me to say, oh, I've been manipulated. No, interviews, the person is still pretending that she's a victim or etc., etc. So no, I don't care about, oh yeah, but hey, he's this big. I don't care who he is and who does he think he's gonna buy. My parents didn't teach me that for 100K you could buy my respect. Oh hell no. I don't care about the money. And mind you, at that moment, I have Kaysha dit quoi that is bombing, Love de toi that is banging. I'm performing like twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. I have a ton of money myself. So I don't make 100K per month, but I make, I make 5 to 10K every month. And I'm like, hey, you know what? The 100K, I'll make them in 1 year. But nobody's gonna buy my respect, my self-respect. I'm not interested in working. First of all, I don't want to work with the person she works with, but I don't want to work with her because, oh hell no. And the guy replies to me, but fuck, can you think about the business? And I'm like, I'm thinking about the business. Last time I did business with these people, I lost 100K. So no. Business-wise, no. Personal-wise, no. And on the way that I was taught by my parents, oh hell fucking no. So, I received texts from everybody, yo, think about it, blah, 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 this is a big player. But I was like, I don't give a fuck about who he is. My parents are 10 times what he is. If I need 100K, I can call my dad. And it's something I don't do. I never did in my life. I've always made sure that I made myself. But if I need 100K, Dad, for real, I need 100K. What for, son? Oh, I need to buy this, or I have this problem. All right, son, 2 days. My dad has 100K to give to me if I want. I never asked for that money. And this is what all these monkeys didn't understand. My parents are rich. And because I want to be a simple person and not pretend that I'm, those people think I'm on the same level as them. But if I wanted, I could have never paid my rent and have my parents put milk in my mouth all my life. But I decided that no, I want to do music and I want to prove you that I can do it by myself. And starting now, I'm never going to ask you anything anymore. And I was making it. I was producing artists. Everything was good. But I still decide. I still have much love, Mountain. Wait, 10 minutes. This is the end of the story. So at that point, I decide to pass on the 100K. And, 100K is still 100K, right? And then another friend calls me, I think 2-3 days after that. He's like, yo, bro, I have these 3 girls. I want to do this album. I want you to do it. I don't have a lot of money, but I'll give you 10K to, you write the song, you produce, da-da-da-da. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go, let me finish this album that I'm doing, and then I'm on this. Yeah. We do one single, we do one song called On a Changé. The group is called Les DS. The group gets signed on major label, and after the 2 songs that came out, one I produced and another friend wrote, and the other one I wrote and produced. So you had the song called On a Changé. It's on my YouTube channel, true. And the other song is called Danse avec moi. Those 2 songs play on national TV for a whole year. And the intellectual rights. So I had 25% of the first song because I wrote and I gave publishing to EMI, and I had 50% of the second song because I wrote music and lyrics, and I gave 50% to EMI. And in exchange, the TV station that had to deal with us would play the song all the time, which would generate rights, and the rights after 1 year, they come back to you through ASCAP if you're in the US, or SACEM in France, or SPA in Portugal. At that time, I'm in SACEM, and when I received my SACEM check, so you receive every 3 months, and I think we generated around 800,000 from those 2 songs. So it divided in everybody. I think I received around 250 in the course of 1 or 2 years, or I don't remember. I still make money from that song. But my first check, it was not a check, it was a wire, bank transfer. The first bank transfer I had from those 2 songs, one morning, I remember I had 300 euros in my bank account. And I was like, fuck, I have to do a show quick. The next day I wake up, I had 153,300 euros in my bank account. I woke up, I was like, okay. And this is the victory. When you decide that nobody will take your dignity and the respect that your Bantu parents taught you, you get rewarded afterwards by karma. And that's exactly what happened. And eventually, a few years after the lesson had been learned from the artist, we ended up, again, I will do a whole thing about it. But once the lesson has been learned by the artist, and we were in the same place, and once you run out of insults, you're just done with being pissed. We sat down one day, and yeah, she said, "I'm sorry. I was young. I got manipulated, and I thought it was the right thing to do, and I was arrogant. I thought the money was there, and yeah, I did a bad choice, and I disrespected you, and I'm sorry." And I was like, "Hey, I forgive you."